time, I didn't have to stop anybody at 3 minutes today. So it makes things go smoothly, and we all appreciate it. So thank you.
All right. I have been reminded of something that I have been remiss, so we're going to interrupt this. I need to have another vote. Ruth Dries has been doing yeoman job as temporary editor of the UCO Reporter, and I would like to present her. I would like a motion from the Assembly to ratify the approval of the Officers Committee to appoint Ruth Dries as editor-in-chief of the UCO Reporter. So that's appropriate to make the motion. Joy Vestal makes the motion. Go ahead, Joy. You make the motion to approve Ruth. Do we have a second? Why don't we, Betty Bleckman seconds the motion. Is there any discussion on this one? No, she's very good. Decades of service to this community. Okay, looks like we have, yes, all right. Thanks for reminding me. Ken, please push the appropriate button and register your vote. And Ruth, thank you very much. Paper has looked marvelous. Come on, everybody, please vote. Push a button.
There's a bunch of people walk out. That's all right.
Oh, please, give me two more. Have you picked up any delegates left?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, just don't tell me we're going to crash this again. How many? Two?
You have 116 voting, that's enough for a quorum.
170.
Now, you've got two? You got any? 4, 5, 6, 120. We're still okay. All right. Has everyone voted who intends to vote? All right, bring it up. Well, welcome, Madam Editor. All right. Ruth, oh, thank you, Ruth. All right, Sandy, we interrupted you in midstream. Go ahead.
I was actually finished, and so I'm going to pass the mic over to Fausto.
Oh, okay. Fausto.
Welcome, everybody. The presentation on the insurance, I want to stress this. It is not only for the officers, but it's for the unit owners. We have been receiving a large number of claims. Some of them cannot be processed because the buildings are not taken care of. And part of this procedure is to learn what you need to do and how you need to maintain your building so that if you do have a loss, you would be covered. Other than that, I just want to let you know, still 0 people have contacted me in the last 4 months to come and do anything at the UCO office. Thank you.
Okay. What do we got? Yes, David.
Good morning. I'm just so happy that hurricane misses. I enjoy living here so much that we were really fortunate, and I know that I'm going to open up my checkbook, and I'm sure a lot of people here will also, to help those that really got slammed by this disaster. But thankfully we were spared, and I hope we'll continue to be spared. That's everything for me. Thank you.
Dominic.
Dominic, don't complain. You put me here. Here we go. A little something about infrastructure to supplement what David told us. The existing conditions and the contract have been signed, and two of the things we're doing is we're juxtaposing the position of the fence and the walkway to put it beside the light poles. There are 9 FP&L lights, and we're going to put the walkway there closer to the road, and it's going to follow the curvature of Century Boulevard. Road closings, we don't have any idea what we're really going to be facing, but I think we're going to try to keep it open for pedestrians who are going to Temple and who are going out the Haverhill Gate. That's pretty much what it's all about. So we should see something starting on the ground in the next few weeks, I would imagine. Yes?
Yeah, we noticed along the Century Boulevard and where the fence supposed to be, some palm trees that are dead or seem to be dead or whatever. Is there anything done? It's been there for a long time.
Those are sable palms, and I believe they had a blight, and most of them belong to the golf course. Question?
Yeah.
Please.
Bob Tingatella, Greenbrier Bay. Are we enjoined by any outside entity to start this project right away? Is there any legal action against us that we have to do this in September?
No, not in September.
No. Well, think about the inconvenience. We're not the county. This is a discretionary project. You're going to start it at the end of September. It's going to go into the season. You've got 7,300 units full of people. They're not going to want to go out that gate. They're all going to want to go out the other gate. It is going to cause a disaster. Is there any reason? I mean, we're all going to be inconvenienced. Is there any reason why we can't start the project?
Yes, there is one reason.
Next spring.
No, we have a violation from the county that we have
That's what I asked. We have to do it right away.
we only have a 3-foot wide walkway.
Is there any possibility we can get them to work at night instead of during the day?
Well, then it'll take forever
Oh, what do you know?
and cost much, much
People
more.
in this place, people here go to sleep by 10 o'clock at night. Nobody uses the gate. You're all going to be wishing it was done at night when they start the construction and you're trying to get in and out. But I understand that we have to do it, so you have to do it.
We have to do it.
But really, I mean, okay.
Part of the misunderstanding that I've had is initially they were telling us it could take 3 to 4 months. Now they've reduced it to 3 to 4 weeks.
Oh,
So they're going to address first is moving the walkway, and the last thing will be we're waiting for a permit to replace the fence. And the fence in itself has a very irregular path.
I understand.
And that's why I proposed that we should try to do it so that it follows the curb rather than the fence, because then you'd have just what we have today, only 2 feet wider, and it doesn't solve anything.
well, I will pray every night that they're not lying to you about 3 to 4 weeks. Okay, and if that happens, God bless us. That's a wonderful thing.
Thank you.
You're losing your skirt.
Anything else, Dave?
No, that's it.
All right, John.
Dominic?
Got one question, hold on.
Dominic, you mentioned that there has to be done because there's a violation. Was there a violation before we approved the money to do the fence? Or is it because of what you proposed within the fence? I'm a little confused. I need clarity. What's the violation?
The violation is that we have a 3-foot wide walkway and code calls for 5 feet. So people walking have to walk very close to the fence now, and if we relocate it, it'll be a much easier walk.
So that I'm going to assume that was always an existing violation. Has nothing to do with the fence coming down. That violation existed. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay? Yep. Okay, John. John, go.
Fortunately and unfortunately, I happened to miss the hurricane. I was on a cruise to Alaska. The day I left, the forecast was Dorian was going to come across Haiti and dissipate. There'd be nothing. And I landed in Seattle, and they were telling me it's a Category 4 going out across the Atlantic. So everybody here done a good job. They were prepared. I haven't heard too much complaint. I had several phone calls, people asking various questions. And if you would pay a little more attention to the TV, which I'm sure you had 24-hour coverage for a couple days, that you can find out just about anything you need to know. If you've got computers, just type in disaster Florida, and you get just about anything you want, more than you want, matter of fact. So we did dodge a bullet. Well, matter of fact, we dodged a bomb. But keep your fingers crossed. We won't have any more problems. And also keep your supplies handy. We still got 2 more months of this hurricane season left. And hopefully it's good that we were missed, but it's even better that maybe everybody will pay a little more attention when I ask you early in the year, June 1st, start getting your supplies ready. You all seen what happened at the stores. Shelves were empty in a heartbeat. There's nothing to get. Gas stations were running out of gas. You can't leave town. So be prepared, have a plan, stick with it. Where we're located here, we're far enough from the ocean that just staying here and hunkering down is usually our best bet. You get out on the highway, you get stranded, you get stuck, then something hits, you're in a real world of hurt. At least here you got a building to stay in. Thank you.
Stuart.
I want to talk about a few things that have crossed my desk recently. People buying units change the locks on their doors, and they don't turn the keys into the administration of the building. And with this hurricane season, if you can't get in, and you have to get in, somebody's going to have their windows broken, or at least the doors broken into in order to be able to do something to protect the apartment. So please make sure that all the unit owners turn in copies of the keys to the board so that their building and apartments are protected. Another thing is that we have standing water, and that breeds mosquitoes. And last couple of weeks, there have been some TV reports about different types of mosquitoes and breeding, and we want to eliminate that and the possibility of people getting bitten, and elderly people are more subject to serious illness than younger ones. So as a result, we would like to have you go around and check your buildings to make sure that standing water is removed. I would like to touch on beautification. We had one new member join our group, and I'm asking you to think about coming and joining us and contributing to the beautification of Century Village. The planting at the Okeechobee Gate is growing in. It's monochromatic, and I promise you that the next time we change that planting, we will have multicolor so that it would be much more interesting than it is right now. The Haverhill Gate, we decided to put in the plantings the way they are. We saved money by using young plants rather than full grown, and we're just waiting for them to grow in and spread out, and they will be multicolored, and so that would make it much more interesting. Another project we're working on is the beautification at the Four Corners by Dover, and we're just waiting until the rainy season slips by, and then we will steam clean the stones that are there and then put in the new plantings. One other last item, the man who said that why don't we work in the evening, if you live in the area where the constructions are going on and people are working with lights on and you go to bed early, I don't think that's going to work well. And obviously you would like to have people work during the day so you can see what they're doing, rather than work by lights and shadows and so on would distort the quality of their work. Thank you.
Cam.
Good morning, everyone. As I roll through the property after this non-storm, I find it interesting that the buildings have more damage caused by folks who were preparing for the storm than the actual storm. I'm seeing a lot of exit lights on second-floor catwalks knocked off. That's people dragging sheets of plywood to the units. Also, I'm seeing sheets of plywood that were roughly attached to the exteriors of the buildings with masonry nails or screws. I'm going to ask you all if you can survey your properties for these sheets of plywood covers. They're an eyesore. They are a code violation, particularly a fire code violation. But we also need to take a look at the holes that were made in the sides of the buildings. These little holes will need to be filled and painted to keep water from intruding to the exteriors of your buildings. This is kind of important. The other thing I would ask you to look for is our generators and cans of gasoline stored in or around the buildings. I found quite a few of these over the past couple days. Obviously, cans of gasoline next to buildings is a bad idea. Definitely storing them in the building is not a good idea. You also want to look at who's operating these generators. Are they underneath a window? Are you going to suffocate someone? I'm very leery of these portable generators, so it's something to take a look at as you do your post-storm surveys of your properties. Just one more thing. Dave asked me to have a word about trucks, RVs, and commercial vehicles that are being permanently stored on the property. In most cases, these vehicles are being stored on association property. So UCO has no power to tow these vehicles. What I would ask everyone to look at is if each of the associations could have a tow permit with one of the local tow companies and have code compliant signage up, that would allow you to act on these inappropriate vehicles immediately. Otherwise, we're looking at a county code violation, and I'm the guy that files the complaint against your association. I really would not like to do that. If you take a look, you'll see RVs around the property. You'll see big white trucks, yellow trucks, things of that nature. They kind of don't belong here, and it's a community standard issue. So we really do need your cooperation in this regard. Thank you.
Eddie?
I plan to be a little more liberal with the time I'm going to give back to you. We're going to have our final budget meeting on the 11th, which is Wednesday in Classroom C. Please feel free to come out and join us. We'll be glad to answer any questions we can about the budget, which we will be bringing forward to the Delegate Assembly to approve in October. Thank you.
All right, this definitely is a place to bring up your issue on reserves. All right. The committee reports, of course, are contained herein. We are now in good of the order, or as we used to say, good and welfare. So please come up to the mic.
Okay.
Dan.
The canal over or near Norwich is filthy, and it's covered up with greenery and debris, and it's been there for quite a while. This, I understand, belongs to WPRF, the canals on the fence, near the fence of the Norwich, on the north side. It's really standing water, and it's just there.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Gladstone. Florida Power and Light has just completed a major land clearing project along the south and north boundaries of the property. So it looks quite bare along that area, and there's quite a bit of damage to the fencing. That's going to be repaired in the near future. There has been some damage to our canal banks.
Yeah.
That's in the works. WPRF is actually authorizing those repairs to be done today. So the good news is all of those invasive trees are gone.
WPRF did it. I mean, FPL or?
No, the canal banks are the responsibility of WPRF, and we've been working with them to get those straightened out.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Olga.
A few months ago, I made a suggestion to set up a committee for the Millennium Agreement coming up. I would like to know if a committee has been set up, who is the chair of the committee? Also, I sent in a bio to be a member of the committee, and I would like to have an answer as to whether I was refused to be on the committee or accepted. Either or. I would like to have notification of that. So there's 2 questions to answer. Thank you.
The committee has been set up. We'll meet shortly. I'm the chair of the committee, and you are not on the committee.
Could you please put that in writing?
Why, certainly.
Thank you.
George.
Okay, I'd like to thank everybody that participated in the Operation Pill Drop last month. Just so you know, we collected 142 pounds of pills. Imagine that, folks. And thank you very much. We're going to do it again, probably sometime in February, for those of you that haven't had the chance to participate in it. And save that stuff. No toilets, no drains. Hold on to them, okay? And thanks very much again.
George, thank you very much for making these events happen. Yes, dear Taylor.
Carolyn Speranza from Sheffield Q. Thank you for addressing the FPL.
A little closer to the mic.
Sure. Thank you for addressing the issue about the tree takedown and fence damage along the north part, especially the canal. Is there going to be any kind of re-beautification, if you will, of plantings? Right now, we are looking at a beautiful open lot of goats.
Goats.
Very unsightly from our entire street, not to mention buildings that are not very desirable to look at. The trees that were left, I was more concerned about those with the coming hurricane than I was with the hurricane itself. They don't look stable at all. It looks like a war zone. And I'm just wondering that if there's anything in the future that's going to be done to perhaps plant, put up maybe new trees, cover that fence with some kind of greenery like they did years ago at the Haverhill street that finally grew in a matter of a year and completely blocked out the fence, gave you back a noise buffer, and you don't have to look into somebody else's backyard that is not part of Century Village.
Okay, first thing is, the whole point of the removing of these trees, and this is an FPL decision, not a UCO WPRF decision, was to make the grid less susceptible to damage, so that you'll have more dependable electrical service during storms. As far as the trees that were left, along the canal banks, which is actually outside of the FPL easement, FP&L could only take out the invasive trees. So the trees that you see left are native trees that needed to remain. I did a survey with an arborist yesterday. There are a number of them that, as you say, are damaged, and they're either going to be trimmed or removed as a safety issue. We should have an estimate proposal this week. As far as plantings, something that will be discussed in the future. There is a proposal on the table or a plan to dredge and stabilize the canal banks. So almost certainly that would include, at the very least, sod. So, and as a personal note, I think the goats are cute, but I don't live across the street from the goat farm. So
there will in the future.
This is an ongoing project. It'll be going for some time.
Okay, so there will in the future be some kind of planting, bush, shrub, or whatever along that new
There'll almost
fencing?
certainly have to be something to stabilize those bare banks. At the very least, sod. What that exactly is going to be, it's early days yet. We really don't know.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you, Donald.
Just a comment on this. When FPL is through butchering and raping the land, we will work the landscaping problem. There are a number of very powerful players. Lake Worth Drainage District, WPRF, and as always, your pockets and mine, to re-landscape such a large area with an acceptable vegetation screen, because as Donald said, they cleared it out to give access to their lines. So we're going to have to also coordinate anything we do there with FPL. But the short answer to your question is yes. We're not going to permit that war zone to remain that way. There will be a landscaping initiative. But just remember, who as always pays for these sorts of things. Okay, Jack.
Good morning. Jack Adams, Coventry K. I just want to say, I want to advocate for bougainvillea along that fence, just as is all along the Haverhill fence, because they're thorny. They discourage anybody from coming over a fence. If you talk to any landscaper, they hate bougainvillea because of the thorns. And they are they're very pretty to look at. They're very cheap to install, and so I'm a bougainvillea fan. And I want to say thank you, FP&L, and if there's anybody in here that had any part in encouraging FPL to do that job, it's a job that's been needed, extremely needed, for more than 5 years. And I want to say, not only is it protecting our power lines, but in my opinion, one of the biggest problems we have in Century Village is rodents, rats. Nobody likes to hear the word. That was a rat breeding ground over there. Thank you, FP&L, and whoever helped expedite FPL to move. Have a great day.
Just a thought on the thorny plants. Remember, hundreds of worshipers travel that sidewalk. We don't want to be scratching them up. I don't know if bougainvillea will be a good choice, but we'll see. Yes?
Yes, Iris Friedman from Salisbury D. WPRF instituted a new guest pass policy, and it excludes people from Palm Beach from going to Hastings or using any of our facilities. You can be from Cuba, and you can be my guest, and you can come into Hastings. I cannot have my friends from Palm Beach even come to the gym or anything else. They want $3 a day for a guest pass, and they still cannot use